The Royal Rumble. Few gimmick matches have achieved the lofty splendor of WWE's 30-person Fight for Survival. Every January, fans ranging from virulently diehard to chronically lapsed tune in to see the parade of entrances, the surprise guests, the renewing of hostilities, and more sign-pointing than you can shake the Sandman Singapore cane at. There's just nothing quite like the Royal Rumble, is there? But for all of its nifty grandeur, the Rumble is never flawless. With many moving parts and details, there's bound to be a blunder here and a botch there. And few Rumble moments are as underwhelming as bad eliminations. Whether it's because the design was too cutesy or because one of the participants erred on the execution, some Rumble eliminations have left a bit of a sour taste. Now, while most of the moments ahead didn't completely tank the Rumbles they occurred in, they are like a dragged finger smudge through the icing of an uncut wedding cake. It's still edible, but someone's definitely getting glared at. I'm Tom Campbell from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 worst Royal Rumble eliminations ever. Join us. At number 10, Alex Riley, 2011. There was a brief period in time in which it seemed like Alex Riley had a chance to become the biggest breakout star from NXT The Game Show years. While Daniel Bryan and Wade Barrett were enjoying their own sorts of star turns, Riley's connection with WWE Champion The Miz and the nuclear response he got when he finally had enough of The Miz's browbeating indicated the arrival of a new sensation. Unfortunately, outside of picking up a decent aggro screamo hard rock theme song, it was mostly all downhill after that. His appearance in the 2011 Rumble match was perhaps a harbinger of things to come. Riley was supposed to hang around till the match's final stages, where he would have played a part in causing John Cena's elimination, setting up Cena versus Miz at WrestleMania. Instead, about 80% of the way through the match, disaster struck. Riley was teetering on the ropes in the clutches of Cena and Kofi Kingston when he dropped to the apron and ended up slipping off and falling to the floor. The announcers didn't even notice this because nowhere in their strict format did it say, Riley will accidentally eliminate himself here. This put a small glitch in the Rumble Matrix, and the match's booking now had to be reconfigured on the fly to accommodate Riley's early exit. Number 9, Mark Henry, 1998. The Mark Henry in 2011 that powered his way to the World Heavyweight title was great. The Mark Henry in 2013 that wore a salmon-colored jacket was great. The Mark Henry in 2021 that cheerfully no-sold Abaddon spitting up blood during his framing of a Rampage main event is great. But 1998 Mark Henry, he was not so great. A company pet project coming off a long injury layoff, Henry was added to the Nation of Domination as imposing muscle. But it would be a long time before the world's strongest man demonstrated true value. His anticlimactic 1998 Rumble match elimination didn't inspire much awe either. As part of a Final Five that included Nation teammates Farouk and The Rock, Henry was dumped over in a corner elimination by his own boss Farouk. Henry, however, caught the rope and stayed on the apron, and this was apparently a mistake. It seems like Henry was supposed to fall to the floor from the corner throw because his next move was to awkwardly step halfway through the middle ropes, take a solitary punch from Farouk, who had to turn back around, and then slowly tumble to the outside from there. It didn't hurt the flow of the match any, but boy did it stick out like a sore thumb. Number 8, The Great KALI, 2009. Though any promoter would have high hopes for KALI based on his mammoth frame, the man had severe limits as an athlete. This was abundantly clear in any match that wasn't simplified down to him remaining stationary while his opponent bumped off him. Even in a Royal Rumble match where KALI might only be in the match for a matter of minutes, his limitations could easily manifest. This was the case in 2009, where he was the Rumble match's first elimination. After KALI piled up an in-ring body count that included Rey Mysterio, MVP, and others, Vladimir Kozlov entered next to kick off a major hoss fight. Actually, major probably isn't apt. unless you substitute hoss fight with your favourite synonym for a match that comfortably resides in the negative star range. Kozlov pummeled KALI towards the ropes, setting him up for elimination with what amounted to a clothesline to the back of the head. Problem was, KALI badly telegraphed his own elimination by prematurely leaning over the ropes to set himself up to go over before Kozlov could even hit him. Watch this entire 10-second fight sequence, and you'll understand why no couple has ever won Dancing with the Stars in matching body casts. Number 7, Titus O'Neil, 2015. Good old Titus has made Rumble history on 2 different continents, as not only has the former primetime player set the standard for ignominious Rumble entrances, but he's also made his mark on the elimination front as well. By 2015, O'Neil was in a bit of a comic patsy state, playing a heel that might wind up the butt of a silly comedy segment, or a victim to a goofy babyface's shtick. In the 2015 Rumble match, O'Neil was indeed supposed to make negative Rumble history, and he still kinda did. During a heavily maligned Rumble match, which we will revisit again later, don't you worry, number 26 entry O'Neil was booked to be eliminated in less than 1 second, breaking Santino Marella's infamous record. But when he was bum-rushed by Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose, a little fumbling occurred during the throwout, and O'Neil ended up kissing the floor after a protracted 4 seconds. Reportedly, this infuriated Vince McMahon, who generally has a sterling track record for keeping a level head at the workplace. So if you feel like the booking of the 2015 Royal Rumble ruined your night back then, take a little solace in knowing that the man who booked it didn't entirely get his way either. Number 6, KANE, 1999. We're now past the eliminations gone wrong stage of the game and are firmly sliding into the they actually booked that portion of things. If you've never seen KANE's elimination in the 1999 Rumble, know that the man eliminated himself. KANE's not the first person to have done so, though. Andre the Giant eliminated himself in 1989, but that was because he was in a mad panic escaping from Jake Roberts' snake Damien. Ahmed Johnson threw himself out in 1997, facilitated by enemy Farouk appearing on the aisleway, thus Blind Rage overcoming the Pearl River powerhouse. This isn't necessarily a defense of those self-eliminations, but they certainly were more in character than what KANE did in 1999. After cleaning house of various mid-card driftwood, KANE watched as a number of white-coated asylum seekers, read local indie wrestlers, filed down to the ring, one of them bearing a straitjacket. Some forgettable storyline, don't ask. KANE began manhandling the caretakers with ease, the natural reaction one has when they refuse to take their medication. Then, in his ongoing assault, KANE casually stepped over the ropes as though they were a child-proofing gate in one's home to continue beating up the asylum workers at ringside, because KANE is very strong and very obstinate, but damn it, he's also very stupid. Number 5, Mil Mascaras, 1997. More self-elimination goodness. For the 1997 Rumble in San Antonio, the WWF partnered with Mexico's AAA promotion, with a number of the organization's stars appearing in the Rumble match itself, as well as in several pre-show and undercard bouts. One of those talents was lucha legend Mil Mascaras, one of the most influential stars to come out of Mexico, and a genuine Hall of Famer by most objective measures. Mascaras, however, is somewhat averse to doing the honors, and the 1997 Rumble was no different. Mascaras entered the match from the number 11 draw to a sizable cheer and hung around for around 7.5 minutes. Perhaps he was supposed to go longer, because after eliminating AAA-based heels Perrot and Cibernetico, 54-year-old Mascaras climbed to the top rope and hit a diving crossbody onto Perrot on the outside. Impressive as that leap was for a middle-aged man, that did constitute elimination, despite Mascaras' repeated attempts to re-enter the match, thinking he'd done nothing wrong. Perhaps he remembered WWF officials allowing Randy Savage back into the 92 Rumble for doing the same thing. Well, anyway, stories indicate that Mascaras refused to be thrown out by anyone else, and the self-elimination was done as a way to satisfy all parties. Number 4, Steve Austin, 1999. This one is not a self-elimination, but it may as well have been. Make no mistake, the 1999 Royal Rumble match is almost unquestionably the most badly overbooked match of its type in wrestling history. Don't even at me. You couldn't put together something more hollow and convoluted if you tried. Don't even at me. But at least it's going to have a happy ending, right? As number 1 entrant Stone Cold Steve Austin gets to beat number 2 entrant Vince McMahon half to death, en route to winning his 3rd consecutive Rumble match, before going on to challenge for the WWF Championship that he had been screwed out of. So, Austin is pummeling Vince, chair shots, a stunner, some rudimentary offense just to dismantle the hated honcho. Austin is a cat playing with the mouse before he eats it, because he's got this match in the bag. That's when Corporate Rock suddenly appeared in one of his $12,000 shirts, and he caught Austin's eye. The two exchanged words with Rock on the floor and Austin in the ring, and even the most oblivious sports referee could see what's coming. They got into a tussle, allowing for Vince to spring to life and throw Austin over with The Rock's help, making McMahon the Rumble winner. Austin blew a gasket at ringside, but really, it was his fault that the usually wily Stone Cold suddenly lost 50 IQ points at a critical moment. Or maybe it was the creative team's fault, whichever. Number 3, FINLAY, 2008. We've seen some crazy stuff take place in Royal Rumbles through the decades. After all, this match is a glorified free-for-all in which the combatants are fighting for a championship match at the biggest event of the year. Having said that, the action in Rumble matches is bound to get a little wild. Steel chairs, tables, kendo sticks, trash cans, even a freaking bowling ball have been used in Rumble matches prior. And honestly, none of them look particularly out of place in a match where mayhem is to be expected. And that is what makes Finlay's 2008 elimination so peculiar. In this particular Rumble, his alleged son Hornswoggle was forced to enter by a spiteful Vince McMahon. And in the bout's later stages, Leper Kid found himself at the mercy of Mark Henry and Big Daddy V. That's when Finlay jumped the gun just before his number 27 entry and attacked the super heavyweights with his trusty shillelagh. He then absconded with Hornswoggle and left the ringside area, at which point we were told that Finlay was disqualified. For what? Using the shillelagh? Entering before the horn sounded? And besides, a disqualification in a Royal Rumble match? If Sean Waltman had attended a live watch-along during that night in 2008, what do you think he might have said about that little booking quirk? Number 2. Everyone the fans liked, 2015. This entry is not designed to register annoyance towards babyface Roman Reigns, but rather the ham-fisted manner in which WWE thought they were constructing his path to stardom. The 2015 Rumble match was a disaster the moment the first beats of Reigns' music blared over the sound system, because Daniel Bryan had been eliminated and the undesired ending could be seen from a mile away. This was now the droning trudge into Roman's WrestleMania story, whether anyone liked it or not. And judging by the crowd noise, everybody hated it. Reigns was supposed to be the hero, and the match's final run was meant to emphasize it. With stale, outdated Kane and Big Show holding court, the two giants demolished 3 crowd favorites in Dolph Ziggler, Bray Wyatt, and Dean Ambrose. But instead of launching them over the top rope the way a good Leviathan might, they condescendingly deposited them over the ropes like they were playing Plinko. The idea was to infuriate the fans to the point where they'd have to cheer Reigns as he fought back against the 2 beastly roadblocks. Instead, the crowd booed Roman, they booed them, they booed The Rock, they booed the parking lot attendant, they booed each other, they booed your dad, and cheered for surprise Rusev. Needless to say, this was a dark and frigid Rusev day. And number 1. Macho Man Randy Savage, 1993. Just as eclectic as the man himself is Randy Savage's Royal Rumble history. In 1991, Savage no-showed his spot in the match, the story being that an irate Ultimate Warrior chased him from the building. In 1992, Savage eliminated himself while going after Jake Roberts, but was permitted back into the ring, seeing as he wasn't scripted to go out there. Then comes his shining moment in 1993, which could perhaps be explained away with a little dab of kayfabe as well. The 1993 gauntlet came down to Savage and the quarter-ton terror known as Yokozuna, or Yakazuma if you ask Virgil. For a lengthy period, Yoko wore Savage down, flattening him with slams and corner charges. The Macho Man took a sustained beating from Yoko as fans tried to rally him back into the fight. Finally, Savage found an opening when Yoko missed a corner backsplash and eventually slumped to the canvas. Summoning his remaining strength, Savage ascended the turnbuckles and flew off with his patented flying elbow smash. Then, Savage attempted to pin Yokozuna, forgetting the rules of the match. Though really, you could say that Savage was delirious from the beating he'd just taken. In any event, Yoko bench pressed Savage up from the mat, sending Savage up and over the ropes to give Yokozuna the win. But really, instead of marveling at Yoko's feat of strength, most of us wondered, what the hell was Savage thinking?